I got fired from my job. I was very happy with my progress, you know, very big operation. I failed miserably. Has changed my life forever. Beautiful property, and then it's really start to kick off. I had the time. That was a tremendous turning point. I came as a trainee and I left as a sous chef. Yeah, it's gonna be a great book. Hey, wanna know how I became a chef? Stick around and don't go anywhere. So many people ask me, how did I become a chef? And today I will tell you the story. I'm here, home office today. I put on my chef jacket, don't worry, I'm not on duty. I'm here at my mom's kitchen, as you can see. Yeah. So how did I become a chef? That's why I'm doing this video today. It's all started here actually in Berlin, in Germany. When I was a little kid, a little boy. Actually, my mother was cooking for us, and I was very interested. So I remember I used to have a small recipe book where I was writing down the recipes. Very simple dishes. She was cooking the dishes for us kids, like the soups. So I wrote everything down, like roasted potatoes. I don't have that book anymore. We did a lot of baking. I think almost every weekend we did a cake. It was a lot of fun, and so that is a little bit the background. So I was interested as a kid already in cooking. I helped my mother. I experimented with myself and things like that. And then a few years later, when I was a teenager, I remember I wanted to move to the United States. Wanted to permanently move. And I was thinking, yeah, what can I do to survive, to make money? And then it just hit me, and the idea came, oh yeah, I can work as a chef, you know. And that was the epiphany I had at the time. I maybe was 12 years old or something, and then I decided, okay, I will become a chef, you know. So I don't know, 1 or 2 years later, I was not interested to move to the United States anymore, but somehow I decided to stick with my decision to become a chef. It was not my intention to move to any foreign country at that stage. Yeah, I just wanted to become a chef. And I did a practical training for, I think, 2 weeks in some nearby hotel here. And so I could have a look at the facilities, I could have a look how they work, how everything was. And I liked it, you know. I also got to know the tone in the kitchen and how it all works, you know. My first real hotel where I started my apprenticeship was the Radisson SAS Hotel Berlin. And that was in 1993. The apprenticeship here in Germany normally lasts for 3 years. And that was a very interesting time. When I look back, it was a great time because we learned a lot, you know, a lot of things which you don't learn anymore today because of different logistics and different products. I did not pass my examination in the first try. Yeah, I was failing. Yeah, there was 2 tests, the theory and the theoretical and the practical test. I'm not shy to tell you, I was a lousy student, you know. Towards the end of my apprenticeship, I was a very lazy guy. I just had interest for everything but for my apprenticeship. So, of course, I had to pay the price. So examination came and I miserably failed. The practical test I passed, but the theory I failed miserably. And 6 months later I repeated the test and I just passed. After that apprenticeship I did my basic military service. for 10 months. And then after that time in 1997, so 22 years ago, I started to take up my first commie position. Commie position is the lowest position in the kitchen. Yeah? This is the position where you start with, for those of you who are not familiar with kitchen and restaurant environment. So I worked about a year in Berlin, and then I got fired from my job. Yeah, it was a surprise, you know, everything was cool. I had a great time at work. I liked the chef, he was cool, he was a nice guy. And yeah, I had a great life in Berlin. I had a car. I had my circle of friends. We did a lot of things together. I had a really great time. I arranged myself. It never came to my mind to leave Berlin or even Germany. I was feeling very comfortable, but then suddenly the chef called me into his office and said, Marcel, we have to talk. So I sat down and he told me, Marcel, very sorry to let you know, but we have to lay you off. He didn't say I have to fire you. Eventually it means the same thing, but he had to lay me off for business reasons. Not because I was a lousy chef, but there was some internal issues, financial reasons, stuff like that. It was really a big shock. So I was thinking what to do. I remember there was a guy in my team, his name was Carsten, and he always told me about Switzerland. He worked in Switzerland before. He always said, nice country, great money, party every day and this and that. But I was not interested. I listened to his stories. It didn't kick me, you know, so at the time. But then once I got fired from my job, I started to seriously think of moving to Switzerland. And I arranged for an interview. I traveled to Zurich. I spent the night over there. I did some test working and stuff like that. And this is how it all started. And that was in 1998. In June in 1998, 21 years ago, I moved finally to the Mövenpick Hotel in Switzerland. That was my first station in a foreign country. And this experience in Zurich has changed my life forever. That was a turning point. The first few months I remember I was not homesick, but I missed my friends. I didn't miss my family so much, to be very honest, but I missed my friends a lot, and every 6 weeks or something like that I flew home. I flew home to Berlin, and the work was just okay. I earned good money, but it was not the kicker, you know. But then in half year into the time, it was an 18 months contract. After around 9 months, things suddenly changed. You know, new people came on board. It was always like a lot of change going on. The team was very young, a lot of Germans, you know, and the people coming and going. But so at the time, after 9 months or something like that, new people came on board. And then it really started to kick off. I had the time of my life. I met new people, I made new friends. End of December 1999, I knew already I will not go back to Germany because I had such a great time and I want to continue that kind of lifestyle, you know. I've decided to stay in Switzerland for the time being. Altogether it came up to about 3.5 years. Until 2001, when I moved to the United States. That was my first overseas assignment. At the time at the JW Marriott Camelback Inn Resort, Golf Club and Spa, a beautiful property. I recently revisited the property, and I had a great time. I even met some people, some folks from from the time 17 years ago, 19 years ago. So that was my first experience in America. Unfortunately, I didn't like it so much, and after 4.5 months, I decided to go back to Germany. I spent another roughly 1.5 years in Germany. In 2003, I made the next move to America again. I wanted to do it again. I wanted to continue what I didn't do in Phoenix in Arizona. I wanted to do another traineeship, and this time I said to myself, I want to finish this traineeship. The traineeship at the time was expensive. You had to organize your own visa for the United States. It cost around $1,000, and you have to pay your own flight and everything, all this kind of stuff. It was expensive, and I lost that when I canceled my traineeship in Arizona. So I said this time in San Diego, it's gonna be different. Oh boy, was this a different time? It was completely different. Since the beginning, I noticed, and the way people approached me, the way people welcomed me in San Diego, especially the chef, Mr. Larry Eels. The way they treated me over there was a turning point. Since my arrival in San Diego in July 2003, I knew already this is going to be something different, and eventually it was a turning point in my life. I mentioned it already. The chef, the executive chef, Larry Eels, he was my mentor during the time. The good thing was he liked me from the start, and I liked him. We had a very good chemistry going, and he really provided a mentorship to me. He was not only my boss or the chef, he really was a mentor to me. He really took great care of me. And I learned a lot from him. He is the chef who I admire most until this day. And also I had the great pleasure just recently, a few months ago, to visit him again. He is still working. It's unbelievable. This guy is like a machine. He is, I think, 64 years old. He's still running the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Indian Wells in California. That man is an absolute role model for me still today. And we met, we talked. He took his time for me 3 months ago in September when I went, and we had a great chat, and it was like in the old days, a lot of knowledge we exchanged. I mean, now at the time I was more experienced and everything, also, so we could really have a great exchange, and I really appreciate that relationship. I admire this person a lot. And basically, Chef Larry, he made me fit for the things to come. In San Diego, I got the training, not only in terms of a kitchen and everything, but also in terms of leadership and management. And he really shaped me. He made the person who I am today. Obviously, I had to learn a lot. I'm still learning today. But the thing in San Diego, the experience in San Diego and the encounter with Chef Larry, that was a tremendous turning point. That was a tremendous impact on my career. So I left San Diego. I came as a trainee and I left as a sous chef. Yeah, I finished my traineeship as the pastry sous chef at the Manchester Grand Hyatt in San Diego. So I left San Diego in 2004 in December, and I was ready to go. And Chef Larry, as usually, he fixed me up. He helped me to organize a job in New Zealand. I moved to New Zealand. I stayed within the company. I stayed with the company, with the Hyatt company. I moved to the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Auckland. It's not the Hyatt. And I took over the position as a sous chef there, my first real sous chef position. I was a pastry sous chef in San Diego, yes, but I mean, kitchen-wise. but I didn't stay long there. I didn't like it so much. I didn't get it. Before I came to New Zealand, it never came to my mind to move to Asia. I remember I was traveling from Germany all the way to New Zealand. You have to know the travel time from Germany to New Zealand is roughly 24 hours. It's a 24-hour trip. And I'm talking here about sitting in an airplane, okay? So, but I didn't want to go the whole 24 hours in one go. So I said I make a stopover in Kuala Lumpur, which is roughly halfway through. So from Berlin to KL, you fly roughly 12 or 13 hours. So I decided to make a stopover in KL, take 3 days, spend 3 nights in KL, and then I continue my trip to Auckland. And I remember it was my first time in Asia. I'd never been to Asia before. So I landed in KL in the middle of the night. And then I went to my hotel. Next morning I got up and I was staying in Chinatown, KL. I didn't know at the time what Chinatown was. And the next morning I got down to the road. I just was so shocked what was going on. So many people and the heat and the humidity and the things I was not used to, you know, the way they cook, the street food, everything looked messy, dirty and shabby and disgusting, sorry to say. That was like a culture shock. So I remember it very clearly. I actually, you know, as a matter of fact, I ended up eating McDonald's for the next 3 days. I was scared to eat from the streets, you know. So, and I said to myself, I was walking around, I looked at the people and said, I wanted to go into a mosque. I was running around in t-shirt and short pants because it was warm. It was like 33 degrees in February. You don't have this temperature in Europe. So I was running around in t-shirt and short pants, and I decided to do some sightseeing, you know. So there was a mosque opposite my hotel, so I said, okay, let's visit the mosque. Let's check something out here. So I wanted to go inside the mosque, so they didn't let me in because of my t-shirt and my short pants. I got upset, you know, because I didn't understand, but now I know why. You know, it's because of religious reasons, you know, and because of respect. But at the time I didn't know. So that experience even fueled my bad mood about KL and Asia, and I said to myself, you know, I will never ever work in Asia. I remember that clearly, and you know what? 6 months later, I ended up in Beijing, in China. But in New Zealand and Auckland, there is a large Asian community. You have people from all over the places, from Indonesia, from China, from Malaysia, from all over the places. A lot of Asian folks running around there in Auckland. So somehow I got interested, and we had also Chinese people working in our hotel. So somehow I got interested in China, and I applied for China, and I landed a job in China, in Beijing. That didn't work out well. After like only 6 weeks, I left, you know. So I was very, very fortunate to land a job in Hong Kong at the Hong Kong Jockey Club as a sous chef, and that was basically the second turning point. Hong Kong was a completely new and different experience in terms of everything, in terms of lifestyle, in terms of people, in terms of culture, in terms of money, in terms of cooking experience, everything. That was one of the greatest experiences of my entire life. And since that time, since 2006, I basically stayed in Southeast Asia with only a short period of time of about, I think, 1.5 years when I moved back to Berlin for different reasons. So yeah, so I spent 2 years in Hong Kong as a sous chef. After my contract finished, I moved on to Kota Kinabalu as an executive sous chef. Kota Kinabalu is located in Sabah in Malaysia, on Borneo, so it's like roughly 3 hours flight. It's a 3 hours flight from Hong Kong south. Yeah, and then my next position, executive sous chef. So I was happy, I promoted myself basically 2 years at the Nexus Resort in Spa Carambonai, a beautiful property. I had the pleasure to just work there again. So I worked there twice. I just finished my assignment as an executive chef there. But I was 32 years old when I assumed my first executive chef role. I spent a year in Hanoi. After that, I made a quick visit to Ipoh, spent another 6 months in Ipoh in Malaysia. And then I got hired over from Ipoh to Medan in Indonesia and Sumatra. I assumed the role of the executive chef at the Ayaduta Hotel and Resort Group. I spent close to 3 years over there in Medan, and then for personal reasons I decided to move back to Germany, and then I made a move again. Went to Saudi Arabia, but I just spent there 2 months. It was a very short time, but at least I could get a little bit of an experience in the Middle East. My goal was to get back to Southeast Asia, and I was very fortunate. And it didn't take long. I took over the chef position at the Radisson Hotel in Batam in 2016. And yeah, I spent close to a year over there. I had a great time. And then I decided to take up my own business. I decided to step out of the kitchen. I wanted to finish this project actually forever, and I moved to the Philippines 2 years ago. Tried to start with my own business. Everything was very promising in the beginning. I met really cool people, really promising people, but it turned out that some of these people, they were actually not so cool and not so promising. I was very, very happy and fortunate when I managed to secure the job at the Nexus Resort again. Remember, I worked there already as an executive sous chef from 2008 to 2010, so it was a great thing for me because I still knew a lot of people there. And I knew the operation, I knew the mentality of the people. I knew it is a challenging place, but I was fit for the job because, like I say, I worked for 2 years there before, so I had that was my great advantage and my great benefit, And I also think the people actually benefited from it, It was great. I had a really great time. I still have many friends and colleagues there. We are still in touch. So this is my story, how I became a chef. I actually wrote a book about my experience as an expatriate chef, and I'm going to plan to release it by this year. In this book, I've written down everything about my experience in the kitchen from the start in Berlin as an apprentice in 1993 until today. It's a very honest book. It's a very open book. I'm talking about a lot of good things, and I hope with this book to inspire a lot of people, especially the young people. And I know there are many thousands, tens of thousands, probably even millions of young people who are aiming for a career in the hospitality industry. The young people have a great passion for hospitality. The colleges are full. The culinary schools and hospitality schools are packed and stuffed up with young folks who are very interested to. Some of you may know that the hotel industry worldwide is booming, especially Asia, Southeast Asia. This place is booming. There is a great market, there's great potential. So my book is for these people mostly, but of course, for my generation, for people who've done it, who went through the process. It's fun to read. There are a lot of stories inside. It's gonna be a great book. I hope. Okay, guys. So if you have questions about my career, if you have any questions about anything what I have talked about in this video in regards to my story, my history, my experience, or if I can help you with anything, if you have questions how to apply for a job overseas, guys, please let me know. Drop me a line, post your comments in the comment section. There are many things you have to pay attention to, and it's not just like this that you land a job overseas. You have to follow certain rules. You have to. I probably will in the future release more videos about kitchen and culinary. Yes, I mean there's a lot of stuff I can talk about. There's a lot of stuff I can give advice on. There's a lot of things I can share with you. You know, I want to help people, especially the young people who are interested to work overseas. And because my background is overseas, you know, I know all the tricks. I know how to land a job in order to not get discouraged from the sometimes very difficult and very straining process of an overseas application. I'm here to help you. I'm here to advise you. Okay, did you like this video? Come on, click the like button or share it with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, because there's much more fun and interesting stuff to come in the next weeks and months.